Hello, good morning again, and welcome to Qdabra Forms Training Day 4. My name is Joanne, and other Qdabra team members are also joining us today. Patrick is here, and Jimmy is also joining us today. Would you like to say hello, Patrick?
Hello, everyone. This is Patrick. Sorry, I was on mute. Happy Friday, everyone. Thanks for making it through the week with us. We really appreciate you being here.
Thank you. And Jimmy is also here to do to share some tips on the first lab on performance tuning. Hello, Jimmy.
Hello, everybody.
You'd like to say hello?
Hello. Can you all hear me?
I can't hear very well. Okay. Well, Yesham, is my audio okay?
Hi, John. Yes.
All right. So other Qdabra team members are also going to demo some labs for us today. And Scarlett is going to do lab 3, and also Dawn is going to do the last lab. So maybe we would like to hear them introduce themselves today. Scarlett, are you there?
Hi everyone, Scarlett here. So I started joining Qdabra just this year. So I'm a newbie here in Qdabra, and I hope that you'll be able to learn with today's demo. That's it.
Great, thank you. Dawn, are you here? All right, maybe he's going to join us later.
Joanne, did you see the comment from Suzanne and Misty about the Lab 4
Oh,
downloads?
the packages?
Yeah.
I mentioned in my email that Lab 4 is going to be available shortly. That's why it's still disabled in the training form. Yeah, I apologize about that. I think Dawn is still working on the sample forms, but we'll make sure to make it available for you before the training ends. All right. Okay. How about the rest? Were you able to download the packages?
Yep, everything else worked fine. This is Misty.
Thanks, Misty,
All right,
confirming.
thanks.
So just Lab 4 then was the
Yeah, that was the only one.
on the overlays, or I thought that
The hamburger.
the hamburger.
It's the hamburger, yeah.
That's right. I'm looking at day 3. Okay. Yeah, the hamburger machine apparently is a little bit out of kink today, so we're trying to fix it. Get you guys something for lunch here. Sorry, Joanne.
Maybe we're preparing a snack later, so the hamburgers the last part. All right, so day 3 review, we're going to do a short review of what we did yesterday. So yesterday, our topic is modernizing forms, part 1. And I hope everyone was able to have a great time yesterday and enjoy the labs. We showed you how to make your forms responsive in the browser. Yesha showed you that lab, how to make the forms flexible and responsive using CSS styling. And then we also showed you how to add the flexible task things, which is really helpful when you're doing dashboards. It's going to be a dedicated section for your menus. And I'm so happy to hear that Catherine was already able to try the flexible task things. Catherine, would you like to share some experience with that lab?
Yes, so at the moment it's still a concept. I haven't actually tested it yet, but I'm redesigning my form so that it has a flexible task pane. It's not going to be quite straightforward because it does have different views and needs to have different views. But I think it's going to be a useful way to get a consistent kind of user experience across the different views and have always have the tasks on the one place. Yeah, so
Right.
that's how I'm using it.
Thank you. It might be challenging though if you're applying it to an existing form because you need to move all of your contents in the container of the task pane. But yeah, let us know how it goes. And yeah, thanks for your suggestion, by the way. You sent to me. I'm going to apply them next time. And then lab 3, we did the hoverable drop downs. This is the technique that Mel discovered and webinared last February with Carol. So we did that. And also we showed you how to add a pop-up overlay that gets the user attention in your browser forms. And also the last lab is about the debug slider.
It may be worth pointing out that there are these other techniques like floating labels. Did you mention that at all yesterday, Joanne, the floating label stuff?
I didn't, but it's, yeah.
It
Good
might
to
be
mention that as
worth
well.
doing a quick demo of that today, because that's a really easy technique to add to forms that makes them look much more modern and not as involved as these techniques. I think that of all these techniques, the obviously the responsive form one is the most important one, but the overlay is also, I think, a really a great way to make your forms look more with the times, so to speak. And the other techniques are cool too, but they're not quite as broadly applicable to all forms. I think that the responsive forms of CSS and the overlay are the most applicable to all the forms, any form actually. Obviously the debug slider too, but that's not going to wow your users. It's just the overlay and the responsiveness will.
Yeah, I agree. I do have that form that Carol demoed before, and it has the floating label, so I'm going to show that later. Okay, and then we had a very minor issue with the debug slider yesterday. Yesha, would you like to share what happened yesterday? Why was the table is not getting or displaying the space at the bottom?
Yes. Yes. So that was my fault because I zoomed in on my browser, so that's why um you couldn't see the all of the execution history on our debug slider. So, but if you follow the steps that I did in our instructions, it will work well on your forms. So
Yeah. Mhm.
Do people have to be if they're zoomed in? Can we show them how to zoom out? Is that something that can you just show them where that setting is real quick? I know it seems silly, but it might be useful to just do a quick show and tell.
yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll make you host, Yesha. Okay.
Let me go ahead and share my screen. Let me know if you actually see it. I actually opened the floating label, so I can actually
Oh, great.
show that
Yes,
to you right now. So
we can.
here is actually a form that we showed on our October's training, and the floating labels is actually this feature wherein if you hover to your text field, it will then change the color of the label. It can resize it, and it will go actually on top of the field so that so that the users can know or can see what the focus on their fields are right now. So that's the power of the floating labels. It's very organized so that you can really focus on your fields here. And the zoom in, zoom out that I was actually talking about was just when this zoom in browser. So I just hit control and the scroll uh on my mouse. So that was actually my fault. It was under 90% yesterday. So if you go to 100%, you will actually see the whole execution history from your debug slider.
Great, and this is from last October's training. I'm really glad you brought this up, Yesha. Which lab was this? Which day was this? Can we give people a reference to go back and?
Yes. I think it was, so let me quickly open our course directory from our October's training. And I'm guessing this is day 2. There we go. So it's day 2 and lab
Lab 2.
2.
Great. Yeah, and the other thing to point out here is this. I don't know if they covered drop downs, but you can definitely do drop downs as well. I think it's slightly different than when you're doing normal text boxes and things like that, but the drop downs can be floated too. Is that correct, Joanne? I'm remembering that we recently
Yeah.
did a form with drop downs that were floating, but it's probably not in that October training, right?
Right. I think Karu was able to do the workaround for that. Maybe we did that for Kristen. I'm not sure.
We need to probably take a note on that, maybe
Mhm.
to redo that in a webinar in May, because I think that we should probably update everyone with the floating labels. That's a great, Asia, can you take a note on that for a May webinar, and we can update everyone on the floating labels.
Yes, we
If you
can
aren't,
definitely do that.
you should be getting our webinar emails, but if you're not, you can register for them on our website. Just go to qdabra.com and then find the education page, and you can register for the webinars. We try to do them every other week or so. Sometimes we'll do them every week, but probably about 30, 35 a year. And we had a little bit of a hiatus in Q1 as we were trying to finish the Forms Designer beta and a bunch of other releases, DBXL and FormsViewer. But we plan to have many more webinars this year. And if you have a topic that you really care about and you want us to webinar, please let us know, because we'd love your ideas.
Yeah. And also maybe we can send them the anonymous link for the previous training. Yesha, can you grab the anon link from the course directory there and put that in chat? Because some of the content from the October training are not here. Yeah.
I can provide that in chat.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Aisha.
All right. Shall I go back to my slide now?
Sounds good.
Okay. All right. So that's the day 3 review, and now we're on day 4. We made it to day 4. Thanks for being here since day 1. And I believe more people are, not more people. I think one more is joining us, Emma. So yeah. So anyway, we're going to start. Day 4 topic is modernizing your forms part 2. So of course, we still want to continue in sharing tips on how to enhance and beautify your forms, enhance the user interface and the usability features in your forms, and add these features using easy to add. Sorry, someone's chatting. Okay. Yeah, it's easy to add CSS and JavaScripts. But today we're going to look into some other topics on how to modernize your forms. But while we think making it look nice is important, we also think that enhancing the form's performance is very important, because if your forms are looking all good, but it's painfully slowly when the form loads in the browser, it's going to be well, it's going to impact the productivity of your users. So yeah, so that's lab 1. We're going to discuss performance tuning, and that's why Jimmy is here. He's going to share some tips on how to improve the form's performance in Forms Viewer.
I just want to just chime in here, Joanne, that the performance is really important with the cloud because your users won't complain if things are slow, but it will have a dramatic effect on them, impact. And so I'm always beating the drum of making sure that the forms are opening as fast as we can make them. In general, the onload is the most important thing. That first impression, we want to make sure the forms open in less than 5 seconds. And I know some of you are probably laughing at me, but because I know, Misty, we've got a lot of work to do to help you get your forms to even be faster than they currently are. We've done some work already, but this is the inspiration for this topic today. Was we have a lot of customers that have forms that don't open in less than 5 seconds, and we really want to stress that you can get your forms to open in less than 5 seconds. That I think is the benchmark. The cloud will be slow sometimes based on your connectivity. If you're working from home and you don't have a fast broadband, but in general, you should be able to get to that 5 seconds or better, and hopefully a lot better.
Right, yeah. So we'll show you the performance metrics later. All right, so lab 2 is about web page form embedding, and this is a technique that Kaoru discovered. She was able to add the Forms Viewer form in a SharePoint site page or an HTML page. That's actually a technique we've been using in our website. Right now, we have forms there for displaying the webinar's topics, and it's actually a Forms Viewer form. And we're going to show you how to add the form using iframe resizer later. All right. And lab 3 is about opening links via button. This is actually a feature that's not built into InfoPath, but we were able to support this feature now in Forms Viewer. So Scarlett is going to demo this. And then lab 4, we're going to discuss how to add an XCP for, I think this is going to be like a small animation for toggling the menu in your mobile, and John is going to show us that later. Okay, so let's proceed to lab 1. So this is the performance metrics. Patrick and I was talking about this earlier today, and the performance metrics for browser forms, the open time, we expect the forms to open in 3 to 5 seconds. And then the query time, if you have buttons with action rules in them that queries a SharePoint list or queries your database, we expect them to query data within 5 to 10 seconds. So 10 seconds is the maximum, I think. And then submission time will be in the range of 10 to 20 seconds.
And there's a reason for this.
Patrick.
Let me just jump in here again. I'm sorry, Joanne, to interrupt the flow here, but when people have, the first impressions matter, right? So that first open is the most important by far. If they're in the form and they're clicking on a button, then they're doing something. And so the user perspective, the perception of the user is, well, I clicked on something to go fetch some data. And therefore they're much more, I think, understanding if it takes a little bit longer, they expect it to do something. On submit, the reason why we don't care so much about submit is, and there is a careful sort of an additional technique that Joanne's going to show today. Submit time, if you change the button into like a spinner when they click on it, then they know something happened. And then if you finish with thank you for submission, at the end of that submit, you get success or whatever, you thank them for the submission, then they can click the button, go get a cup of coffee, go get a glass of water, whatever, come back and they can see, okay, that worked. So there's not as much of a time because they don't have anything else to do in the form. Once they click submit, they just need to make sure it happened. So that's why we don't really care so much about that. We still want it to finish, within 20 seconds or better. I mean, ideally 10 or less. But there are a couple techniques to show quick feedback there that give the user the confidence that something is happening. And then tabbing, though, is the most, I mean, the tabbing, if the tabbing is not instantaneous for all intents and purposes, and I think the user perception is about 1/5 a second, 0.2 is really where we want to be here, then the user is going to see a sluggish form, and they're going to be typing, tabbing and typing and not knowing where they're typing because it's lagging, the time when it's displaying. So that the tabbing usually is not an issue with your forms. There are some situations where you do get tab delays if you have thousands of fields that you're displaying, or even hundreds. If you get into the several hundreds and you have rules that run on them, there are problems that come up in those situations, and Joanne will cover those. But I think in all, the most important thing that we need to focus on is the open time. The other ones aren't that big a deal usually. And I guess, Jimmy, would you agree with that? I just wanted to get you to chime in here too.
Yes, well, a number of things can delay the tabbing. Usually the most common cause is the view. If there are a lot of things being displayed at once, especially if there are a lot of drop-downs, and even more so if the drop-downs are filtered, we recommend not generally filtering the drop-downs themselves, but rather filtering the data before you show them, because that way there's less to show and less processing going on. But also, if you have a lot of rules, if you have default value formulas, they can also drag down your form. And default value formulas, they can make the form logic really convoluted and confusing as well. So we recommend just using rules rather than using those.
Joanne, maybe it would make sense to just show a quick demo right now, and just show before and after, if you will, and then talk about the open performance issue that we're going to talk about here. Is that cool?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. So. Okay. So let me show you a list that I've just imported here in my in the training site. So it's a work orders list, and it has 1,000 items. So maybe this list is not that huge enough. Maybe I would say it's a semi-large list, because a huge list would be 5,000 or maybe 2,500, because the threshold is 5,000, right? So this is like a semi-large list. So the thing about this list is it's not just containing one column. So it has a lot of columns here. It's got more than 20 columns, and it's got thousands of rows. So we're going to query this in our form. Okay, so I'm going to use the form with the task pane that we showed you from day 3. So we just open that. And so when form designers are adding data connections, maybe they are not realizing that they are checking the automatic query unload. And I'm going to show you where that checkbox is here. Okay. Then I would have to go through it, each of these columns, and check them to really check the performance. So I think it's 22 columns here. So next, and I'm gonna leave this checked. So it's going to automatically retrieve data when form is open. And this is not what we recommend. This is actually not good design. So, but we're just for the sake of the demo, I'm gonna check that, and I'm gonna drag the repeating table here. It's gonna be very long. And okay. All right. And save this.
And that's going to conflate two items, Joanne. That's going to conflate the time to query the data into the form and also the time to display it. Did you want to separate those two things?
Yeah, probably, we can talk about that.
Okay.
So I'm not going to open the form, but when I tested it earlier, my machine is having a hard time. So okay, it's querying. So what we said is the metric should be 3 to 5 seconds. So I hope you're timing. Are you timing? Let's wait.
Jimmy, is this going to switch from querying to something else?
Page
once
and
the data source is loaded, or is it going to show querying when it's displaying the table?
I couldn't say.
Okay.
I'm guessing since that pop-up came up, it was processing, it was crunching the numbers at that point.
Okay.
Right, and
I mean, that was about 10 seconds, I want to say, Joanne, and yet it still did open. You know, and how many pages of text do you have here? I mean, it's quite. I mean, it's 1,000 items, right?
Right, and it's actually difficult to scroll because there's lag when I scroll. I'm not sure if you can see that. And there's this one thing I noticed that when I click on this toggle button here, it's supposed to show the task pane, and there's a JavaScript that's running in the background there. But when I click on this, it's not working anymore. And maybe because the form is pretty much loaded with all because of the repeating table is taking up the space here. Yeah, so it's doing that. Okay, so that's what will happen if you load the data from here and you check that checkbox. So beware of that. So that will slow down your forms, especially if you have a list that is like more than 5,000 items. So let's uncheck this. And let's try to add a filter here, which is what Jimmy recommended. Let's see how I could perform this later. So for the sake of this demo, I'm just going to filter by the lead tech name there and query for data. And I also have another query here. Let's say we want to enable that also. Let's check the performance. Okay. I'm guessing it will still be, oh, it's really faster this time because we added that filter. Right? It's still hundreds of rows here.
And part of that time on query was caching the new XSN. I mean, people realize that every time you update the template in FormsViewer, people will download the template the first time they open it. If you open it again, Joanne, is it even faster?
Yeah,
now that you've cached it? Yeah.
That's right.
A little bit faster, maybe. Still, you've got a lot of data in the form, even with Lopez being filtered.
And I was able to click the toggle now, although there's still lag because, as you can see, we're still displaying a lot. in the view, and that's not what we want. Right. So that's one thing that you need to watch out for, and that's in the slide deck. We added as a tip. And then I want to go ahead and show you what I did for performance tuning. Should I go ahead, Patrick, on this, or should we go back to the slides so Jimmy can talk about more about this?
Yeah, I mean, let's talk a little bit too. I mean, I definitely want to see that quickly too, but I think that what would be nice is if we could underline, you know, the top culprits, you know, the top 2 or 3 reasons why forms are slow to load, because, you know, we want to focus on that, on load performance. And I don't know, Jimmy, let's just discuss this for a second. I think that having a lot of data connections, we see forms that query, you know, 10, 20 data connections on load. And I think that's part of it. I think the other part is the amount of data that's being queried. And then, of course, like what Joanne was showing, the display of that data, even if you have drop downs, it's still going to affect the view. And, you know, Jimmy, if you were to just to top of your head, think about all the forms that we've brought down under 5 seconds, because we seem like we can always do that without any problems. I mean, sometimes it takes a little more effort. Would you list those top 3 items? You know, the number of data connections are being queried, the amount of data being loaded, and the amount that's being displayed. Would that be your top 3?
Yeah, usually the amount being displayed comes more into play when people are actually using the forms. So, but if there is a lot, it can definitely cause the form to be slow to load. But usually the main culprits for as far as loading time goes are the number of data connections and the amount of data.
Great. Any comments or questions at this point for us on the sort of the quick high level, here's what you do to make your form open faster techniques? Any questions from the attendees? Okay, Joanne?
Yeah. All right. So thank you. So I'm going to show you what I did to add some performance tuning. So in this form, I'm still querying the same work orders list, but I'm using REST to query the list, and I'm not querying it on load. And I have a search box here to search for the lead technician that I want to search. And let's just see how it works. So let's say I will search for and it's going to display that name here in the dropdown. And that's the only time it's going to show the data for us. And we see that the open time is really fast because I'm not querying anything. I'm not even querying on Qdabra rules finish loading. I just added the search box here and perform the query when the user taps out for my search box. And then I have another query here to actually add that filter for my REST query to set the technician or lead technician name to this person.
Is this doing an exact match, or is it doing a starts with?
It's doing an exact match, and for this search, it's doing substring. So it's doing partial search. Like, for example, I do it's also gonna display as that.
I see. So I see. So it's doing a partial match on the options, the real options, and then you're doing an exact match after that.
Partial, yes, correct.
I mean, it's probably worth mentioning the difference between the stock SharePoint list queries in which you saw Joanne just add to the form, and these REST queries, because REST gives you the ability, you know, you saw the query string fields that you can set before you query it. You know, you set it equal to Lopez is what she had in the form, and she just hard coded that in the form. That gives you the ability to filter when it's an exact match. But when you're not sure of what they're going to filter on, and you want to give them the ability to be flexible, like a partial match, then you're going to need to use REST, because the out-of-box SharePoint list queries and the library queries, they don't support partial matches. It's either it matches exactly or it doesn't. And you have to change the data connection to be a REST data connection. Now, we've covered REST in previous webinars, but REST is a type of a data connection. Jimmy, do you want to comment on what REST is versus the list stuff? Just so people know, because they might be confused about what REST means. REST is not something that's very common, but it is there.
Yeah, well, REST basically means you tell SharePoint using a URL what you want it to give you. It's got all these different parameters you can indicate and filters and things like that, as opposed to the web service things where you set up a connection with all the different parameters and filters. The REST is the newer way of doing things with SharePoint, but InfoPath, it wasn't around when InfoPath was being made, so this is sort of a newer technique that we use when we want to filter a little more finely.
Well, I think it was around in 2010, 2013. I mean,
later on.
Yeah, I mean, they have the REST option in the dialog, right, for the data connections.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was later. So great. So yeah, so this is great that you mentioned that, because Joanne, you're just showing them how to if you've got a problem with your REST query filter, you can just paste it into your browser, and if it doesn't return anything, then you know that it won't work in InfoPath either. So she's got the REST query there, right, as Jimmy was mentioning, in the URL, and you can actually just go and edit that. Why don't you go ahead and add starts with or something to filter it further, and you can just show them how this is done. She's got the items, the top 2 items, and she's filtering it by title not equal to null. Sometimes it's hard to parse these things because of the escaping characters, but if we just add an additional like ampersand starts with, and do you know how to just quickly type that in, Joanne?
Oh, what?
Maybe Jimmy can help us.
Yeah.
So what is it you're trying to do?
Just add even a greater filter to this and show them how it's dynamic.
Yeah, that looks good.
So it's less.
Data.
Yeah, so it's less than the previous one, right? I mean, can you go back to the previous one, Joanne, and show that the scroll bar is longer? Yeah, that's not really
the first one, it's just top 2. I was just querying top 2, but you can do top 5,000 here.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to query everything. Oh, no.
Top 1,000. Not valid. You have to escape.
I think you're missing a quote at the end. You're missing the closing quote after Lopez.
Yeah, I mean, the point here is to get, I didn't mean to derail this, but I think that the point here is that if you're wondering, well, why isn't it returning any data? Take the REST query and paste it into your browser, because it'll work in the browser just out of the box. And if your browser doesn't return anything, then you can just try to fix it in the browser first without having to re-upload the form every time. So it's a lot faster to debug it this way than when you're opening the form, if that makes sense. Okay, Joanne, let's continue. I don't want to get too deep in the woods here.
Okay. So yeah, so back in my form here, so I just search for person, and then I I tested and the other functionality is working correctly. It's not lagging, so I'm just going to submit this. And so this is the prompt that Patrick was talking about. We typically show prompts after submission because we want to inform users that the form is submitted successfully, right? In this case, it's submitted really fast. And let's go to the form library and open. So now we're checking the open time. All right. So as you can see, it's really loading fast for me. And you're no longer seeing the search box here because I'm not displaying that. I have a formatting rule to show and hide rules only if necessary. And then, okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and show you what I did in the form. So in the package, you're going to see this sample form, and I can just go ahead and explore this. So what you'll see is that first, I added the REST query here as a data connection. So when you're able to get the query, so typically like what we did earlier, we copy the REST query in the browser, and if it's returning data, so that means it will work in InfoPath. So we will add the REST query. So we will select receive data, XML document, and add the REST query as a resource file, and it would normally
Wait,
be a
yeah, so
.xml file.
why are you doing it that way, Joanne, instead of just clicking on the rest? There, go back one.
Mhm.
Yeah, go add. Yeah, go to data connections and add again, and receive. Click next. Why not click rest here?
Well, I remember correctly, that was what
If you do the
what
XML document, it'll be
instructed
static, won't it? I mean,
um,
I'm worried that's static XML. That's not dynamic.
and we're working on making the search URL dynamic later. We're using change connection URL, so
I see.
it's just, yeah.
So you're doing that to make it so that it's dynamic.
Yeah.
I see. Okay, so that's a really important point for people, because even I was confused. I think that it's worth pointing out that, day one we had, it was day two, I forget, the dynamic data connections is a critical piece to allow you to move your forms from one place to another. We did that lab, and you saw in the Forms Designer beta how to add the XTP for the dynamic data connections to your forms. And what you're saying today, Joanne, is that if you choose REST just like this, like I would think, a garden path, then you're going to end up with something that cannot be dynamically fixed up. Is that correct?
No, it can change dynamically. You mean the actual REST?
I think I'm causing.
The reason not to select REST is that the wizard will try to retrieve the data from Sharepoint, and the newer REST services don't always play nicely with the wizard. The authentication doesn't work, the login prompt doesn't come up, things like that. So you add a static XML file to the form, and then you use change connection URL to change the URL, and you sidestep all those authentication problems.
Okay. That's great.
Yeah.
So this is really a key technique that people need to be aware of, because I wasn't aware of this. So thanks, Jimmy, for that explanation.
Although Hillary told me yesterday that she has been able to get it to work, but I think Catherine, who's on the call, has not been. So it seems to vary by machine as well. So, but at the static XML technique is, I'm pretty sure.
Would you say this is a problem in InfoPath Designer or in SharePoint?
Well, well, it's because the designer is old. It hasn't been made to work with these newer SharePoint, contraptions.
Okay, so when we get the data connections working in the Forms Designer beta, I mean, we've got it in the classic kind of, but when we get it fully fleshed out, and we're not going to have this issue anymore, right?
Yeah, we should be able to make it so we don't have that problem when you eventually get to supporting this type of data connection.
Thanks.
All right, thanks for that. Yeah. Yeah, if I remember correctly, we also did this. We're also doing the static XML REST with OPG, so that's why I just followed the instructions. All right, so in the search text box, I'm setting a search URL field that's in my form logic here, and I'm just dynamically getting the value here. So this is the text or the partial text that's been entered in the search box, and it's going to append that in our query here. So it's going to filter and do a partial search, partial text search, and compare that to all the values in the text column. And once the search URL field is set, we're going to do a change connection URL command. We're going to run it and use the DS name parameter. So that's the REST data connection that I'm using. And then I'm going to use a search URL here as value for my URL parameter. So it's going to change the connection on the fly. And then I have the actual query here at the very last action. And then after that, it's gonna display the lead tech name here in our dropdown, and I don't even have a filter here. I'm just selecting the value for my REST query. And then it's gonna query for us the actual person that's selected in this dropdown. And then, so what I did here is I just dragged the section and converted all the text box to calculated values. So they're just for display purposes. Okay, so I have hide and show here to not display the sections that I don't want to display when, depending on the form status. All right, I think that's about it. The changes that I made to the form for performance tuning. Of course, maybe you can think of something else to enhance your form. Maybe you can review your form and consolidate your data connections and avoid, it's also important to avoid using too much calculations. So this slide is also available in the Lab 1 package, so you can take a look at the performance tuning tips here. Okay, and before Lab 1 ends, I'm going to show you the submit animation that Karu designed. So this is the sample form for that. And like Patrick talked about earlier, when adding submit buttons to your form, it's to be very nice if your submit button is doing some processing animation like this to let users know that it's doing something, and you can no longer click on it.
Yeah, I think that's the bigger, the fact that you can't click on it twice is the bigger benefit.
Yeah.
We do see people that click on something and they go, well, what's going on? And they click on it again. And you've all been to websites where you're ordering something and they say, please don't click it twice or else you're going to be charged twice. That kind of a thing happens everywhere in the web because the web can be asynchronous. And that's why we recommend turning these buttons into non-clickable things like this animation. I don't particularly like this animation so much, but it gives the idea. I think, that of what you can do. The other thing you could do is switch them to another view that, you know, on submit, and you can switch to the other view and then process it, and then have a pop-up or an overlay come up saying thank you when it was done. Jimmy, any other comments on this before? I know you're getting kind of late there, and we really appreciate you being on the call here to answer questions on performance, but did you have any other comments on that technique?
No, I think that's about it.
So Jimmy, before Jimmy goes, let's just talk about these other things too. That I do think that the onload stuff is the most critical for people to get, because that's the first impression. That's really important. We talked about the top 3 things that you can do there, but there are other things that we recommend here. Jimmy mentioned the filter dropdowns. If you have like if you have the same data connection, you're querying it like 3 or 4 times, then definitely you want to consolidate that. That was the previous slide. And then here, when you're tabbing, if you have a lot of fields in your form that, you know, like let's say you have a default value that references some kind of a field that changes. When that happens and that field changes, then you have to update all those other fields that rely on it. And that can cause performance problems too when you're in the form, when you're tabbing around the form. I don't think that large file attachments and background images are an issue when you're in the form so much, but they tend to impact the either the load or the submit. And the background images is something that definitely impacts the load. Can we show them a background image size and how they would detect the size? Is that something, Jimmy, that you can quickly show in like say the browser in the debug window? And how do you know when your background image is too large, I guess, and how much time it's taking is the question.
Well, they would be able to know how large it is by extracting it from the form.
Okay. But that can take a lot of effort. Sometimes is it easier? Is it easy to go into the developer tools in the browser and take a look? Is that something that we can show them how to do, or is that too complex?
Well, we could, Joanne could give it a try. I've never checked to see whether it tells us how big the files are, but maybe.
But the time it takes to load. So when you're profiling the load performance, and you do this a lot when you're in the developer tools, you're like looking at how long everything takes. Where do you go? You do go to the performance tab?
The network tab. Joanne, maybe if you just hover over that, just hit escape and just hover over the URL. I think it'll give you some info about the image. Well, it tells you the dimensions. That's different from the size. I wouldn't expect the images to slow down the load. Actually, you know, there might be a slight delay before they show up, but the form should actually display. Well, they should load in the background after the view actually displays. So yeah, the place I check is the network tab there. And Joanne, if you could refresh the form. And it's a little tricky to figure out what everything's doing. Just hit F8. Yeah. Go back to the network tab. But and we plan to add a debug view at some point that actually sort of breaks this down in a more readable fashion. But you can see query XML. It's querying an XML file from looks like SharePoint. And scroll down a bit, Joanne.
Scroll down.
Yeah, scroll down.
Scroll down.
Scroll. Yeah, it's querying a couple more XML files from, I'm guessing, from SharePoint. Well, not necessarily files. Those are probably REST queries.
So those are now that size of that green bar on the right there. Is that indicative of how much time it's taking to do that?
Yeah, it is. So it's telling you where, how long it took and where it was in the process. Okay. So of course things are going from top to bottom mainly, but yeah. So that third one took a little while, and actually one of the columns there tells you the time. I think it's the one right before the waterfall column is the time. So if you make that a little wider, Joanne, and you can also hover. It'll tell you, it gives you some good stats like this. So yeah, this one took 800 milliseconds, whatever this is that she's hovering on right now.
So then when you look at this, then how do you take this data and figure out what to improve?
Well, it's not easy right now. We want to make it better, but usually I look at the actual data that was queried, figure how many rows were queried. I look at the parameters and figure out what it's actually doing. But it's definitely a little tricky right now.
And the first thing they would do is they would look at the ones that have the largest green bars on the right there.
Yeah.
And then they would find those URLs and they would try to figure out what the data connection was that was responsible, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
that's right.
And now what's Joanne doing now?
Chrome has this profiling for performance, and I think it's going to do a graph of how much time it rendered.
Is this useful at all, Jimmy? Did you use this at all?
I'm not sure.
Not a whole lot. It basically tells you if something's taking up a lot of running time, then this can help to track it down, but this is even harder to tell.
So the first thing to look at is the network and see if it's loading a lot of data. And if you see a whole bunch of green bars, then that's a sign that you can improve your data connections. That's probably the takeaway there. And if you obviously, if you're not sure looking at the name there, which data connection it is, like let's hover over the one, Joanne, that has the 72.k. Yeah, the one at the very bottom there, the largest one. Yeah. The one that is.
The one with the biggest green bar.
Yeah.
Oh, this one.
So is there a way to tell what it's doing here, Jimmy?
Yeah, well, you can see the URL there. It's all encoded, of course, but it's querying a list. It's getting the items, the top 5,000, filter equals title is not null, and lead tech equals Lopez. So that's basically the one she was demoing for us.
Oh, okay. Okay, great. So then you would go in and you would either make the filter more specific, right? I mean, typically that would be what you do, right?
Yeah, or figure if out it's something that could be deferred until later.
Mm-hmm. Lazy evaluated, lazy loaded. Yep. Yeah. Okay. Well, I just want to give people this kind of insight into how to look up performance things. And, it may seem very complicated to you. And like Jimmy said, we are planning to create a UI that makes this a lot easier. This is a common thing that we recommend everyone treat seriously. Performance delays are insidious, that people won't complain about them, but they will feel bad about your form. So you definitely want the forms to open fast. And then that's the key thing. That's the 80% rule, or whatever they want to call it. And I just want to thank Jimmy for being here. We can help you also with performance issues. We haven't met a performance issue, like I said, a form that we couldn't get to open up in less than 5 seconds. So if you do have a vexing form load issue, please don't hesitate to send email to support@qdabra.com.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, Patrick. And thank you, Jimmy.
Yep, thank you.
Sharing those tips. Okay.
Do we have any questions for Jimmy before he drops off? Jimmy is our forms. He is the creator of Forms Viewer and Forms Designer. He worked with our team. We have actually several other developers who are working with him on the Forms Designer beta. So he is the source of all knowledge when it comes to Forms Viewer and Forms Designer. And he's an incredible resource at Qdabra. He's our lead guy here now on the engineering front. And if you have questions, this is a great opportunity. If you've like some really deep question you want to ask, now's your opportunity. Thanks, Jimmy. I hope you have a wonderful vacation next week.
Well, thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
All right, so hopefully you learned something from lab 1, and then let's move on to lab 2. Okay, so this is web page form embedding. And should we pause, Patrick? I think, um,
Yeah, it's been an
perhaps
hour.
we should,
Give people
yeah,
maybe a quick 5-minute
take a
break.
break.
That'd be great. I'll get some
Yeah.
coffee.
Mhm. All
So
right,
5 minutes?
pause.
You want to do 5
5 minutes.
minutes? Okay, great. Thanks.
Okay, all right. All right. Are we ready for lab 2?
Hi, John. Yes.
Hello. Okay. All right. So, floor
Let
is
me
yours,
try
Yasha.
and thank you. Let me try and share my screen here.
I thought you were gonna do the overview here. The
Oh, yes.
slide. I'm not sharing. Okay, I'm share. I'll share.
You're sharing.
I am. Okay.
Yes. All right. So for this lab, we are going to discuss the embedding your forms to a web page. And so I'm actually going to teach you how to create a sample web page in SharePoint, and we will try to embed our form to that web page. But if you also have a website of your own and you want to embed a specific form to that website, that is possible with this embedding technique. So in your website, you can show survey forms, contact forms, feedback forms, whatever it is that you prefer and show to be shown in your web page. So let me go ahead and show that to you and click. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yep.
All right, so I'm going to my site pages and I actually have created here a sample web page in my SharePoint site. And as you can see, once I open that web page, it showed me this form that I have in Forms Viewer, which is a sample April training survey. So that's what we are going to do. We are gonna try embedding our forms to a web page. So this is actually very easy to do. It won't take you that long. So let's go ahead and start off with our starter form, which is included in your package. So let me just expand that and open our starter form. So the first thing that we are going to do is add a resource file. So let's go to Data tab, go to Resource Files, and select Add. In your package, again, you will see there a Resource Files folder, and in there you will see this JavaScript iframe resizer content window, which I will later explain. So let's go ahead and try adding that resource file. And the next thing that we need to do is to load that resource file. So let's go to Qdabra rules and go to finish loading. And I'll just add this to my load resources for form and set the fields value. I'm going to call our command Qdabra rules and just type load resource command. And for the name parameter, we're just going to get the name of that JavaScript here and paste it and just add a .js and click OK. Now that you have added that resource file, we're going to save this and try to upload that into our forms viewer. So let's go and save this and I'll just name this demo. So the file that we actually added is very important for you to add into your forms because it will force us to apply the iframes to our web page. So what is actually an iframe? So an inline iframe is actually lets us an inline frame is is a web allows us to insert or um, add a web page to load another HTML document inside it. Did that make sense? That was hard to explain. So again, it's inside our web page. An iframe is inside our web page, and it allows us to load another HTML document to it. So I think that's better. All right, so that's what the iframe is doing. And what we added was JavaScript to our forms. And the next thing that we are going to do is to upload in our site assets here which I actually already uploaded JavaScript early on for me to show you that uh, this this form here in our web page. So you would just need to add the second JavaScript here into your site assets so that this JavaScript will be associated to our web page. And so let's go ahead and try adding a web page, a sample web page to our SharePoint. So I'm gonna go ahead and click Site Pages here. And one thing to note is that you need to be in a classic UI mode in SharePoint because um, the modern UI doesn't let us add a code or a snippet of code here, and that's what we are actually going to do later on. So let's go ahead and uh, go to classic UI here. And now I'm in the classic UI and I'm gonna click new. And I'm just gonna name our page survey form once more, but I'll just add a demo. There we go. Let's click create. So this is the web page that we are going to use to embed our forms. So to embed our forms here, what we are going to do is click the edit source code here. Oops, it's wrong. You actually have to go to insert tab and look for the embed code here. And in the embed code, I actually added in our instructions the code that you are going to add to your uh, web page here. So let me go ahead and copy paste that and go to this script. So the thing that you are going to change is this source here, which is the source of our form, which I haven't uploaded. So let's go ahead and upload our demo form that we just added a resource of. We go ahead and upload a new template. And I'm just gonna locate our demo here and upload. So I'm gonna go and copy the link of this form and I'm gonna add it here to the source file and just click insert. And as you can see, it automatically added our form to that web page. And the last thing that you just need to do here is to try and publish. Click the publish uh, tab here. Or no, wait, click the page tab here and select the save and publish so that it will be published to our web page. As you can see, it is now published to our web page and you can go back to site pages. Let me just go ahead and close these tabs here. And it's actually added to our site pages. And we open that site page, you can go ahead and um, um, you can actually see that the form is already embedded to our web page. So that's how easy it is to apply your forms to your web page. And again, you can add numerous forms to your websites. You can think of any innovative ideas to add like survey forms or contact forms to your website.
Yes, a quick question for you. With the scroll bars, is there a way to get rid of that vertical scroll bar on the right?
I think one thing that we can do here is adjust the height. So let's go ahead and try that, but I haven't really tried that yet. So I'm gonna edit our web page here, and um, if you click the edit snippet here,
That's funny, Suzanne. Suzanne's asking if you're zoomed in again.
yeah, I'm not. I'm currently on 100% here. Um, so we go ahead And there we go. I went back to the embed code and you can adjust the height here. Let's try changing this to maybe 1,000. So let's see if that adjusts. It did. So um, since the form is very long, you just need to add a little more height to it so that it would fit exactly to your preference here. So yeah, you can also adjust the width. I've already adjusted the width. I stated in our snippet code 400. So it depends on your preference on uh on the adjustments of the width and height. So
And you can't do 100%, can you? Well, you get 400% in there.
yeah, it was a bit small for 100% there. So we changed that. It's a
Uh-huh.
bit small. So that's why I added 400%.
Okay.
So yeah, that's how easy it is for you to embed your forms to your web pages. So hopefully you can apply this to your websites.
And it's not just SharePoint, right? You can also do the websites that have no bearing on SharePoint.
Yes, that
You
is
want
correct. So I can show you here we have Kauru actually added it to our um, website qdabra.com, and if she actually added here a form for a contact form. So yes, it is possible for you to add it to your website.
that's great, Yesha. Awesome demo. So let's ask for questions and feedback here from our remaining attendees. And this is a really cool technique for helping to get data from people that don't necessarily have logins. We've talked about the anonymous technique with the authentication, but if you just have a fire and forget form, you don't want to hassle with asking people to type in SMS text codes or things like that. You just want to get that initial submit because you just want to get the data in, the input. I call those fire and forget forms, where you're just collecting information from external users. This is a great technique because then you can make your forms available to external audiences, and you can collect data like we're doing here with this example. And then we have another example of this. If you go to education, Yesha, and click on the webinar and click on the upcoming, look at the upcoming schedule. It's rendering there. It's rendering a forms viewer form. And of course, we haven't scheduled our webinars. We need to work on that. But I don't know if you saw that, but when you click on the past webinars too, because it's at the bottom there, see more. This is also forms you're running in the background and rendering this this list of all of our webinars. And you can see that's like 7 or 8 pages. So it's definitely a performant in the web page. It's probably even faster than SharePoint in this case because it's not going through as much stuff. So any questions for Yesha on this? Great job, Yesha, this week. Really, you did a wonderful job with the training, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Please log out and get
Thank
some
you.
sleep.
All right, let me stop
I do,
sharing.
I do have a question,
Sorry.
Yesha.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, you showed us a survey form. Are
Mhm.
we going to use that and send it to the
Yes,
attendees
actually,
later?
we are going to send this survey form, and hopefully, you have the time to answer it. Just a few questions there, just 10 questions, and there's a drop down there, so for you to be easily able to answer it. So hopefully, you have the time to answer it.
Are
Thank
you going to
you.
send that a link to an anonymous version of that, Yesha?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, from Farseer.
And it's not going to be scrunched to be 100%. So
Yes.
okay. Thanks, Joanne, for remembering that. That's really critical. We really appreciate your feedback, even if you have to leave early today, or you're watching this after the recording has been published. Please don't, it's just 10 questions, whatever it is. Please give us some feedback. We try to do this training twice a year, and we would love to improve it.
Okay. So let me just go back to the slides here. Thanks for that demo. And okay. All right, so we're now lab 3, and the topic is about opening links via button. And I believe Scarlett is going to demo this for us. Scarlett, are you ready?
Hi, Jovan.
So,
Yes, yes.
hey, do you
I'm
mind if I
ready.
just set the stage a bit on this, Scarlett? Can I just explain why this would be
Yeah, sure.
useful? Okay, thank you. And maybe you're going to do this too, but I just want to make sure that the audience knows why this is so important. And the reason for that, and we should probably put this in the overview text, but when you have a dashboard, like we've done a lot of dashboard demos. I think we did one yesterday with the dynamic hoverable header things, right? When you have a dashboard, and we have a lot of dashboards here too that we've built, you have an option of either opening it in a new window or opening it in the same window. And there are times when you want to do both, right? Or either or, right? Typically, if you have a dashboard and you want to, obviously you want to prevent people from having this huge proliferation of tabs in your browser, and in that case, you want to open it in the same tab, and then go back to the dashboard, right? But if your dashboard is one where it's like you want to refresh it every 5 seconds, and you're using that technique, auto refresh or whatever, every 5 minutes, or not 5 seconds, but 5 minutes or whatever, then that dashboard, if you're using it anonymously, you may want to only log in once, and then you're refreshing it every 5 minutes or whatever. And if you return to that dashboard, in the same tab, then you're going to lose that anonymous login. So in those situations, we really want to create a new tab, launch a new window, and then when that window is done, when that form is complete, you just close it and then you just go back to the first tab, and they don't have to worry about logging in again. So this is particularly useful when you have a dashboard that you're opening anonymously. Somebody's in the field and they want to look at some data, and it's refreshing every 5 minutes, and you're using the technique that we described in a webinar earlier this month. We actually went over and talked about how to create dashboards that are anonymous and externalizable. In those cases, you want to log them in using the authentication techniques we've talked about, and then keep them logged in. And every time you're refreshing it every 5 minutes or so they're seeing the latest information. In that situation, this kind of a technique is particularly useful. I can't think of, are there other techniques, Joanne, that you can think of, other times when this is really super useful? I mean, obviously, anytime when you're in a form and you don't want to lose the data, you want to create a new form, you definitely want to open a new tab. And that's probably even more relevant, is when you're in a form and you want to create a child form or a form that's linked to it. Would you say that that's obviously more common, right, Joanne?
Yeah, that's exactly how I would use this technique. Like,
okay, so forget about the
open another
dashboard. I don't know why I thought about the dashboard first, but typically you're in a dashboard.
Yeah,
but that's
dashboard
kind of
definitely. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. But
I've
yeah, if you're in a
actually
form, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I've actually used this for dashboards. Like, I've converted the doc ID links to buttons and turned them into links using this technique. That's definitely one of the functions for this.
But if you've got a form open and it's like, well, you got to fill out this other form too. You got two forms, but they're disconnected. Then in that case, you definitely don't want to lose what they're currently typing into their existing form, and so you launch another tab so you can fill out that other one. And then what you could do is you could even have that other one close, and then you could link it back to the first one. So there's some ways to do that. Anyway, sorry, Scarlett. Thanks for letting me. I'll shut up now.
It's okay, Patrick. So thank you for that introduction. So I'm gonna be showing you what we are trying to achieve for this lab. So first, I'm gonna be opening our end form. So I'll be sharing my screen now. Okay, can you see it now?
Yes.
Great. So from our lab package, you'll be able to see our end form. So I have it already uploaded in our first viewer site. So let me show you what Patrick had mentioned. We can open a link in the current tab or a new tab. So from here, I have the information overlay. So I have added a button for opening the link in the current tab and opening the new tab. So let me first try this opening current tab. And then I'll just use a regular website. From here, you'll be able to see that a new site have been opened on the current tab. So I just have to scroll back, and then we'll be able to see if it opens to if the links open in the new tab. Okay, so if you will notice, once I have clicked this opening new tab, a new tab have opened and the link can already be accessed. So let me show you how, or let me walk you through on how you can do that in your form. So let me open the starter form. Okay, so from here, we just have to go to data and then resource file. And then from the lab package, you'll be able to see this JavaScript file. So this is the open URL command. So this enable us to open the link in the current tab and the new tab. So I'm just gonna add this one, okay. And from here, once I have added the JavaScript file. So from the patient group, we're gonna be adding a new field from here. So I'm gonna be naming this hospital URL. And then we're gonna be double clicking this. And then we're gonna, on the value field, we're gonna input or place the link to be opened via button. So, okay. And then afterwards, we're gonna go to the overlay section wherein we'll be adding the button. So from the home tab, we can extend the controls and then add this. Okay, then I'm gonna rename the label open and correct. Okay, and then we're gonna be adding an action for this one. So I'm gonna be naming this open URL, and then we'll have to add set a field's value. So from here, we'll be using the command node in the Qdabra secondary data source or the Qdabra rules. We're gonna be adding this command node. And then from here, we're gonna be selecting the FX button. So we're gonna be adding a logic here, which I have already here in my notepad. And then this hospital URL, we have to make it sure that this is an inserted field. So it means that it will gonna call for the URL that we have added. Okay. And then we're just gonna have to repeat it for the new tab. We're gonna be adding a new button and then rename the label. Open URL. And then we're gonna be setting a field value again from the Qdabra rules secondary data source, which is the command node. And then from here, we're gonna be adding this logic. If you will notice, we have added a new statement here, which means we'll be opening the new tab. In the new tab, the URL that we have added on this field. So again, don't forget to insert this field. Okay, so we're almost done. So after adding those actions on our buttons, we're gonna be adding a load resource command. So from the Qdabra role secondary, we'll have to go to the finish loading node, and then we're gonna be adding an action. So I'm gonna be naming this load resource. Sorry. So, okay, just one moment. Okay, so I'm gonna be adding an action here, naming it load resources for button links. And then I have to set a fields value again to this. And then from here, we're gonna be selecting again the command node. And then from the value field, we're gonna be putting this load resource and then name and the name of the JavaScript file that we have added here, which is the open URL command. Okay, and that's it. Once we save this and download this in Forms Viewer, the open links via button is already enabled in your forms. So that's easy. That's how simple and clever adding this feature in your form.
I think it's a great, great quick demo, Scarlett. Way to go. I actually got a question from Suzanne. Yeah, so I want to. Let's see if we can open up her question, maybe, Scarlett. But I do want to make one comment here before we answer the question, and that is that this is a great technique showing how to extend forms here again using a little bit of JavaScript. It's not a lot. So just once again, showing, underlining that you can do this. You can extend your forms with new functionality, and we provide it to you as well. So it's a great example of that. Yeah, what is Suzanne's question? So it's does that JS file handle mailed to? Let's see, Suzanne, why don't you unmute yourself? I just want to understand the question a little bit better.
I was just wondering if it could do a, send an email with that JavaScript. Would you use the same JavaScript or would you create new?
That's really an interesting question. It's a very deep question because, you've got a lot of forms that email is built into InfoPath, and I'm guessing you're thinking about how to convert that over. And is that true? Maybe.
Yeah, I was just.
Go ahead. Sorry.
That's okay. That's all right. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think what Suzanne's asking is maybe we can add the mail to link for the URL, and so it will pop up a blank email message.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh, we haven't tried that. Yeah.
Well, but that doesn't require JavaScript. You can just do that using the default links in InfoPath where you have a URL underneath it.
Yeah, sometimes they get a little sticky though. I've had issues with it
because the browser doesn't respect it or something.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. It's InfoPath.
So let me just put a plug in here for DVXL. We talked about DVXL on day 2, and DVXL does have that email sort of thing at the end of it. So you can configure emails in DVXL to send the emails. You could also do it in 365 with the flow. So we have a central flow solution that we're going to be webinaring in May that if Misty's still on the call, she knows all about it. And Alex, you do too. But we have this kind of, I think, solution where we built out that you can email folks using either the Power Automate flow functionality that's built into 365 or using the email functionality that's built into DVXL. Or you could do something like what you're talking about where you have a link that appears in the browser and a smart link that they click on that opens their email client. I don't like those smart links so much because I use Outlook, but for whatever reason, my Windows box always wants to open up the default email client, which is not Outlook for some reason. I need to probably set my config settings so that it's correct. But I like the other approaches better because then you're not relying on the user having to manually type something in. Any other questions for us? Did that make sense, Suzanne? we've done the mail to stuff, the links in the browser a lot, and that tends to work. You don't need JavaScript for that. I mean, you could write JavaScript to do something like that if you wanted to, but I don't think that's necessary. Maybe I'm wrong. Joanne, have you looked at the mail to stuff before?
Yeah, I think I was able to add that as a link in the form.
And we've got our customer contact form that has the mail to links in it. Do you want to quickly demo that?
I don't have it ready, but yeah.
Well, we can.
It's
just
okay. It's okay. I know InfoPath can do that. So I was just curious. All right. Thanks.
Any other questions before we move on? Just want to thank Scarlett again for your first training class, Scarlett. Congratulations on the lab preparation. Yeah, I hope you have a great weekend. Get some sleep, okay?
All right. Okay. So next lab, let's move on to the next lab topic here, which is the hamburger menu. And this is a interesting topic also because it's going to show you, or John is going to show you how to add an XTP that comes along with a little animation that you can apply in mobile with the toggle for the hamburger menu. So
I think that they're really, yeah. So just to set this up, so Dawn, thanks for working really hard to get this done. This is a new training lab for everyone today, and I think the previous one was too. But this is really essential. You saw the task pane stuff yesterday, the flexible task pane stuff. Hey, that's great for desktop, but what about mobile? You don't have as much screen real estate, so you have to come up with some technique to make it reasonable on a mobile platform, because we're all about mobile these days, right? We're all about people using their smartphone to fill out forms. So, and that's why this is such an incredible technique that Mel Clemente developed and Dawn has refined. Dawn? Do we have Dawn?
we have him.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Good morning.
Hey, Dawn. Thanks for being
Sorry
here.
about that. Yeah, it's 1 a.m. here in the Philippines, so I got confused. So, hey, Patrick, before we start, may I know which site are we using for training?
That would be a Joanne question.
Hold on a second.
I was going to say, Dawn, that's you definitely sound like you're wide awake, so that's great.
Yeah, I've been trying to look for the site, but can't find it.
It's in the
Training. Okay.
status report.
Training. 21.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you ready for the demo? I'm just wondering, if you're asking that question, are you ready to do this, Dawn?
Yeah, I wasn't informed with the site. Okay, now let's go start. So yeah, it was a great technique which Mel did for the XTP, for the hamburger icon or menu CSS. Now, what we did was we've improved it and we added it to an XTP. So if you're familiar with custom control or XTPs, then it's just an easy.
Can you just quickly demo it?
Oh yeah, sure. I'm still trying to look for a new with Zoom.
So you can share your screen.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Okay. Here we go. Sharing now. Okay, so we've added this to an XTP so that it would be a lot easier for everyone to use. So I'll use a blank form for this. Or
can you just show us the end result first, Don, just to give people
end result?
Like we want to lure them into this lab because this really is a cool technique, and I don't want to lose them in the weeds before we show them how cool it is.
Okay, I'll just connect my phone.
That's really neat that you've got the phone mirrored. That's awesome.
Yeah. Joanne gave me this app, and I just tried this out today. Okay, so connecting or connected mirror phone to PC. Okay, start now. Okay, I'll just go grab the link. So, okay, there we go. Okay, so here's the forms viewer form. Oh, why is it not showing? Okay, there we go. So this is the hamburger menu. Okay, I was clicking it from the PC. Sorry about that. Should be clicking from my phone. And it's really great to have this since it's showing you tabs in at the header section, and here you can see you can select the tabs, and it's going to take us to a different view of the form. So there we go.
So you have view switching.
Yeah.
You get the photo stuff. If you want to show them how to attach a photo too.
And for the photo, this is also using an XTP. So for this one, if we select choose file, and then I'm going to use the camera to take a picture of whatever and upload it. So it's there. I'll just click on OK and upload. Now this is going to upload the image to a shared folder. Now what I did with the XTP is that it's going to dynamically detect which site you are on and save and create a folder underneath the shared folders for the current form and the current user. So there you go.
You got a zoom button in there too. That's interesting. If you click on that, does it make it get bigger?
Yeah, I'm going to click this, and it's going to show the original size, which is
huge.
Huge. Yeah. Okay, and then I'll put it back. There we go. Yeah, so that's the photo upload XTP.
Thanks for that quick demo. Obviously, you're going to show us how to do that, but this is really useful for the when screen real estate is on your phone, you don't have as much horizontal screen real estate. So I think this is a great technique for. We were using this with the submit too, right, Don? With the putting the submit at the top of the form there instead of having them scroll down. You don't have that in this form though. The sample form doesn't have the submit, right?
No, I just used a blank form, and the XCP for the photo upload came with this upload button, which will be the trigger rule is going to be transferred to whatever your submit button is.
That's great. Are you going to show them how to? You're going to show them how to add the hamburger, and then is that really complex? How long does it take to add?
It just takes a few clicks. Let's say if we click on or open up a blank form, and I'll just delete this. Now, assuming that already, do I have it here? Yeah. Assuming that you already have the XCP here, you just have to click on it. And there are a few things that you have to do first. Oh, by the way, you need to have curls on your form. So I'll have to use or open up a form with curls. So
Can you use the forms your starter form that has curls, right?
I have one here which has curls.
For those of you that don't have a form with curls, there is a Forms Your Starter template that we have on InfoPath Dev that you can download from the Forms Your download section. And that I think has curls baked into it, so you don't have to add it.
So after adding the XTP, you'll see the steps here. Okay, so first thing that you'll have to do is go into the finished loading node and just run a couple of rules, which are located here under the run and load, and you just have to set that to go. And if we look at that, it's going to run these load resource commands. So these are the source files that are used for the CSS Hamburger menu, and plus the auto width here. Now, after doing that, we just have to set this node to the qrules node or the command node, because this is just for temporary configuration. And then I'm going to save this. Let's say hamburger form. And once we've saved it, I'll just have to go to the site and oh no, where the site go? Okay, here we go. Site contents.
Now, this is a single patty hamburger, right?
Yeah. Forms viewer, manage templates. Okay. Let's upload the hamburger form under training day 4. Well, on users. Okay, upload. And let's go back to. Okay, so I have to upgrade. I'll just grab the anonymous link and send it to myself. Okay, there you can see it's already here, but I'm going to show it from my form. Now, how do I show it here? Oh, there we go. Okay, so I'll go back to, okay, so here's the new link. And there you go. It's just loading, and yeah, as you can see, it's already there. It's already performing the it should be performing for the hide and show of the tabs. Now you just have to configure it so that it will show or hide the sections that you want. So here, this is what you're actually clicking. And let's say you need to add more stuff in. So you'd have to go to the data tab here, default values, and add more stuff here. So contact us, about us, use, home. So if I want to add one more here, add another one below, and let's say settings. Okay, and let's save that and upload. And just refresh this. It should now be there. You know, it's just that easy to add this section here.
That's cool, even with the typo.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my fault.
No, that actually proves that it's a demo. It proves it's no smoke and mirrors there. That's awesome. Any quick feedback? This is a really cool technique, and I can't believe you made it that simple and made it data driven as well. Yeah, that's really awesome. Anybody have any round of applause here for Dawn? Clapping our hands. Thank you, Dawn, for the late night demo. And we have a lab on this, right?
Yeah, we do have. I have uploaded the lab package.
Is it available for people to click on, Joanne?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to show that so they can confirm that they can download it?
Well, let me check that again.
By the way, you could also change the color here, but you need to modify the mobile CSS.
You want to show them where that is?
Files?
That's a good idea, actually. Why don't we,
yeah.
So you have to export it and then re-import it, right?
Yeah, right. So from the resource files, search for the mobile menu CSS, export it, and search for, I forgot what to search for. Let's just open it up. Okay, let's just close these. Okay, so where is it? Okay, mobile menu. So I think that will be this one. It's the menu icon container. Yeah. So this is the reddish or the Qdabra color that we were using earlier. So if we want to change that, I'll just go look for another color. Let's say tangerine tango. Okay. So there, I just grabbed that from a site. I'll save it and just quickly.
I mean, it's pretty easy to just right click on the, or go into the developer tools and get the hexadecimal number for colors, right?
Yeah, but I was grabbing it from the site I searched for. So we have plenty of colors here. Okay, so what was I doing? Okay, so I'll just upload this here. Are we still connected? I have to reconnect. Where's that?
They really want to get you on the bandwagon for VIP, don't they?
Yeah. Okay, give me a
So
second.
you have to click reconnect at the bottom right there.
It's already reconnecting. Start now. Okay, there we go.
Okay.
Okay, so where are we? That's this one. So did the color change?
It did, tangerine.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, yeah.
That was easy.
Yep. And what else? I think that's the only modifications that we have for this XCP.
So that's the when you want to add cheese, you just make it tangerine, right?
Yeah. And the next one is, are we proceeding to the next one right away? Or does anyone have any question?
Yeah, let's just confirm that we have the download package available for people. I didn't even see a next one in Joanne's updated slides. Maybe we have time for you're talking about the photo upload, right?
Right.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I think we have time. I just want to get some quick feedback from folks who are on the call. Let's actually just say hello to everyone here, make sure we still have everyone. Alex, and any feedback for Don on the hamburger?
Hi. Well, I got hungry, so I went to make some lunch while this hamburgers talk. But I think that looks great. I'm very impressed with the format so far. Definitely looks clean, and
yeah,
I know how hard it is to design for mobiles. It can get annoying after a while, so that works great.
Awesome. Thanks for the feedback, and thanks for being available, even though you're eating your lunch.
Yeah, of course. I'm still here.
Great. Caroline, any quick comments on today's class so far? Any comments on this?
No, I'm just trying to digest everything. It's a lot of information. It's been a great class.
I'm glad you're using the same metaphor, digest. That's great. Thank you. Hey, Catherine, how about you? Are you still available Friday night, London time, or wherever you're at in the UK? How's it going there?
I've been eating my evening meal here while watching the demo, which is fine. Yeah, no specific questions on that one. I guess I have some general questions about designing forms for mobile or desktop, and whether it's possible to have to vary the experience depending on which platform the user is using.
This is a great segue question. Don, can you just go back to that hamburger form in the desktop? And I just want to ask you a quick question here. Just hit refresh or whatever, just to show that we have the tangerine now on the desktop as well. So yeah, so I guess what we're saying here is that you're using one view, Don, for both mobile and for desktop, right?
Right.
Now, I would say that this probably doesn't make as much sense for the desktop because it really is meant for the mobile. However, the fact that we're using one view, I think answers part of your question, which is that you don't need to have separate views if you have the responsive CSS configured correctly. Obviously you can have separate views if you want it to be a different experience. And I think the benefit with Forms Viewer over, say, technology like Power Apps is with Power Apps it's very difficult to get responsive working, and you have to jump through a lot of hoops. They want you to pick whether you're a tablet or a desktop or a phone before you create the stuff in Power Apps. In Forms Viewer, because we support CSS, you've got much more flexibility. So you can do it both ways. You can do it, and I like to say do everything in one view because then you have less maintenance, right? You don't have to go back and switch between the views. But if you really want to customize it, you would probably want separate views or at least separate sections in the same view with separate CSS. Does that answer your question? Kind of, maybe. Not quite.
Yes, I think so. Because I was thinking about the task pane that we were using yesterday, which is great on the desktop, possibly not so great on the mobile.
Which is exactly why we decided
Yeah.
to do the hamburger, which is this would be the alternative for people who want both, and it still would work okay on the desktop. I mean, we could even make this a little bit more desktop-y. So right, but yeah, that's a great question. And Joanne, I don't know if you have anything else to say on that to Catherine. Did you have any other insights or response for her? Joanne's muted. Okay, well, let's move right along here. Joe, are you with us today, or how's the audio there in Pennsylvania?
The audio is working well. It's very impressive, Don. I'm looking forward to trying to use this technique to maybe update our TDR reports and call activity reports.
That's great. Thanks for being there. Great to hear your voice, Joe. Misty, any quick questions or comments on this?
Well, I'm just excited to be able to implement some of this stuff in our current forms. And then we have a whole department that hasn't started using electronic forms yet. So we're going to just apply all of this to it.
Yay. And Emma, I'm sorry, I just skipped right over your name there. I'm sorry, Emma, I missed you. Are you with us, Emma?
Yep, I'm here. Sorry, I was muted. We, of course, at Greylock don't really make use of a lot of mobile forms because we have to lock everything down for security reasons, and we haven't found a really good solution for that for mobile just yet. But we do make use of the Hamburger menu on a lot of our desktop forms, and I find it to be super helpful, especially for our workflows that have a lot of different screens that people have to click through.
Would you be able to show Catherine what you have there? Because that might be really relevant to her question.
Show what we have? I'm trying to think. Nicole, do you happen to know if we have a form that we would be able to show externally that makes use of the menu, or does everything currently at the moment have member data? Yeah, unfortunately,
okay. Sorry.
Yeah. So that Catherine can kind of get a visual of it, though, it essentially works the same as what you find on mobile. We tuck it up in the upper right-hand corner, though, because we find on the desktop that's usually easier than the left-hand corner that you would usually find on a phone. And instead of having it drop down kind of in this mobile format with a big X, what it actually does is it opens up another task pane. So we hide and show the task pane using the Hamburger menu, and then we make use of a bunch of different menu options that are all of the different views we have in our forms for workflow. So in particular, we have one for new work item requests for different departments, and we would have different views held within the Hamburger menu. And then if someone were to go in and look at a work item, they could actually submit that item for review or close it out and mark it as complete by clicking on the Hamburger menu and seeing those options.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah, Mel Mel had us built that up for us, and we've made slight little tweaks to it, but as of right now, it's still in the form that she sent it out to us in, and it's been fantastic. It's probably one of our most popular and well-used forms.
Cool. That's awesome. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
And thanks, Nicole, for your mute. I guess you would chime in too if you want. It's your next, Nicole.
No, that's fine. I mean, we're also undergoing a huge migration from our current environment to SharePoint 2019. So we're kind of converting as we go along for each department. So we just did member services and they requested 3 forms for the members, but because we are also upgrading our SQL database to the cloud, we haven't been able to work on it, but this will become useful, I think, in the near future when we do those.
Thanks for that. Hey, and last but not least, Suzanne, thanks for being here on day 4. I know that you're just still haven't started with the migration process on your end, but any feedback for us on today's stuff so far before we continue?
Not right this minute. I think everything looks really awesome, and I can't wait till we can get our hands in there and start working on it.
Great. So I just want to be sensitive to time. I know, Joanne, you and Yesha and Scarlett have spent a lot of time this week, and it's very late there. So if anyone needs to leave, please do. Wonderful job this week on the training. And I think, Don, if you're okay to continue and we want to do this quick photo demo, that would be great. I know that we've also got the Yesha, your survey form. We should get that out. And then do we have any slides that you want to finish up with, Joanne, or do you want to wait until Don's done?
Yeah, we can wait until Don's finished with the upload. Yeah.
So this is bonus, right? This wasn't in the slide deck, right?
Yes.
Photo upload?
Well, I didn't see it in day 4.
Mhm.
I mean, I saw it in the first version of it, but I guess we were wondering if it was going to make it or not. So Don, it's all you.
Okay. So for the photo upload, again, it's an XCP, so it should just be quick. So assuming that you already have it here. So yeah, just add it to the form and then follow the steps here, like for the hamburger menu. So you just have to run the onload rules. So just have to set a node from the XTP logic to go onload, and what that is going to do is that it's going to determine the site, get the template name, and set the current user. And this is what the form is using if you're going to create the folders. Now the next step is just to set the temp Q rules logic here. So for this one, we're going to set this to the actual command node of Q rules, and we're just going to set this next one to the result. Okay, and another step needed is for the repeating section of the attachments here, or the images, and it needs to detect the row number. So here you just have to copy this default value and click the function button and enter that there. Okay, and then click OK, and we're all set.
For those of you wondering why that is necessary, there are bugs, in Infopath Designer. We mentioned one of them earlier today with the REST queries not always loading with the new format and therefore having to use that XML workaround. And this is yet another workaround, that copying of that count command. The XTP doesn't have that come through. So if you add an XTP to Infopath, then now obviously with Forms Designer beta, when we add these XTPs to the designer over the next few weeks, months, we won't have that issue. So we will be able to simplify the XTPs even further, the instructions.
Okay, so what I'm showing right now is the documents, or the shared documents library from the site where the Forms viewer is installed. So right now we don't have anything here. And after I have uploaded this form, I'm going to test it out again on my form, or am I still connected? I'll just connect this again.
And this is
Okay.
desktop or mobile, but it works really well on mobile, as we saw earlier, right?
Yep. Okay, and then I'm going to reopen the form. Okay, so now we have the photo upload. Okay, so loading. Okay, there we go. We have the controls for the photo upload. Now, I'll just choose an image. Okay, if I upload that here, it should show that there is a folder created here. And there we go. Okay, so this is for the, here's the name of the template and the date today. Unfortunately, it did not capture the user because we're in anonymous view, and it should have the image uploaded here.
Did you just take a picture of your screen from your phone?
Yeah.
That's showing the integration between a smartphone and desktop.
So that's what we have there.
Pretty good picture.
Yep. So that's it. That's all I have for the photo upload. Just a quick one.
And this is part of the day 4 labs, right, Joanna? Are we adding another row to your course training form to add this, or is this part of lab 4?
It's part of lab 4, yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought it was separate. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
This is very useful because, what we see people doing a lot these days is taking a picture and then using their finger to annotate it. Like, actually, Don, everyone knows how to do this. We don't need to show it, but you can pick the photo from either your camera or from your gallery. And obviously, if you take a picture of something and then mark it up, that's even more useful. And like Don's working on a service request form. Yeah, that's a great example there. I don't know what that is, Don, but
it's for my vape. The juice.
Okay, we got the politically incorrect image there, but no worries. And so, yeah, so if you can go to your camera, your gallery, and just mark that up. I'm glad that you're. Yeah, I guess maybe not. Don't worry about it. But people know how to do this. People know how to attach images, and because you can annotate them in your phone, you can actually have people say, hey, I want the desk moved over here, and when they fill out the service request, the person can look at the form and see the image with the arrow on or whatever. It just makes it easy to communicate. Great. Awesome. Joanne?
Sorry, my mute button here. All right. So just reclaiming host here. Okay.
Great job, Don.
Yep. Thanks, Don, for that wonderful demo. Okay, just going back to my slide, and actually, we're now on our takeaways because lab 4 is the last lab. So should we go for this slide, Patrick?
I think we did takeaways, didn't we?
We did. Yeah,
any other takeaways for us?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get you guys to sleep faster. You know what I mean? It's like, I know it's late there, and appreciate you staying up late so much this week. Hopefully you get several days off next week. Do we have anything after this? A summary slide of what to do next, where to fill out the survey?
Let's see. The next slide would be the support slide.
Great.
But I wasn't able to put up the link here because the survey form, we just, you actually just developed it earlier. So
We can send email.
before the
No.
training.
We can send everyone email, right? And that's
Yeah, we
great
can
that you did
send
that,
them
Aisha.
email to the survey form.
Awesome. Yeah. So I want to thank Joanne and Yesha, and especially they were the main creators of this week's training class. A lot of new content. Just beautiful new course training form too, Joanne. Really wonderful job. And Kirby did the slides. And as you saw today, Scarlett and Dawn helped out on day 4 with the additional labs. And I want to thank the whole team. Wonderful job. It's just amazing that you guys continue to make things even better. And I'm so glad that that you're doing it and not me, because it's so much better. But for the attendees, yeah, once again, we're here to help you. You're working with a small business, and so the one big benefit, you don't have to worry about, creating a support ticket for Microsoft and waiting, for a long time and not getting a good answer. We're going to be here to quickly respond to any questions you have. We will continue to do our webinars, and the next training class probably won't be until October. I don't think we're going to do one before that. So, if you do get a chance to get through this training and you're still wondering what's going on, well, check out the webinar. That's a great place to go. We every time we run into something new, and sometimes we'll repurpose something old, we put it on the webinar and share that out with you on Thursday mornings, Pacific time at 8 a.m. Thanks so much for being in the class this week. Yeah, anything else, Joanne?
Patrick, would you like to mention that we're looking to push 1.0 forms beta this summer? Because everyone's interested in forms beta. Yeah.
Right. And so as Jimmy was mentioning earlier, the REST data connections is one thing that we don't support yet. And he used the word eventually, which seemed I sort of was scratching my head when he said that, because our goal this summer is with 1.0 is to have all of the essential functionality. And I think the main area that's remaining are the data connections, but there are others. We want to add we've got 1 XCP in the Forms Designer beta today. We're going to have 10 by the end of the summer, so that all of these techniques that you saw will be just one click away, and it'll be easier to add to your forms via Forms Designer. So we're going to continue to make a lot of progress. We're in a two-week sprint mode right now. Scarlett has been instrumental in helping test the effort. We actually just dropped another version of Designer. Was it this week, Joanne, or was it last week? I forget. We went live with an update, didn't we?
We went live for an update before the training started.
And that included, we're adding functionality to it all the time. If you're in the public instance, when you install that Forms Designer beta, you'll just get those updates. If you're on-prem, we'll have to give you the files to update, and we're happy to do that. So, we're going to be webinaring. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, actually, I just want to quickly mention that Nicole and Emma was very interested in trying out the Forms beta in on-prem. So they'd like to know if they can get the app version that's for on-prem. So I was going to ask Jimmy for that.
That's great.
And yeah, for those who are interested to get testing the app in the on-prem version,
we should have the on-prem files for download sometime in May.
Yeah.
We're kind of being a little bit, what's the right word? We're trying to be measured in terms of our rollout, because there are so many on-prem installations. We don't want to overcommit ourselves to helping you out, because I think there will be a little bit of essential help at the beginning. And once you see how easy it is to update, then from then on, you can just do the packages yourself. So let us know. I mean, obviously, we've done a lot of work to get the initial Canvas editing experience done in Forms Designer beta. And we've done extensive testing of it. So I'm really happy, even though it took us forever to get it out. Numerous issues came up, including the pandemic, but we did get it out, and we're working. The pace is accelerating. So our development progress is actually accelerating. So I am not at all worried about a delay for 1.0. I do think we'll have 1.0 out by the end of August, if not sooner. Joanna, is there another slide, or are we done?
Yeah. Yeah, thanks everyone for being here from day one. Yeah.
Great.
So we're hoping to do the next training before October. Yeah. Hope to see you in the next training.
Awesome job.
Thank
Thanks so much,
you.
everyone. And we'll get these
Thanks,
webinar
everyone.
recording out on YouTube, and hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Thanks, Catherine.
Thank
Thanks,
you so
Alex.
much.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.